You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dinny Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Hey, again, welcome to the show. You're listening to VRL, that's Vigilantes Radio Live, right here on iHeartRadio. And I am your host, Dini. We have another special guest for you guys, so definitely stick around for that. And as a matter of fact, text your buddies, text your family members, or even share it on social media right now. And let them know that we are about to dive deep into another interview. Before I bring my guest on, I do want to say that sometimes you have to look back on the day. So will you one day look back on today or yesterday and wonder why you were so afraid to take action? Will you look back one day and not be able to understand why you let so many life's trivial and minor inconveniences get you down and hold you back in such a major way? Or will you look back on this day and be forever thankful for the way you spent it and the value you created by making full use of the time available? Will you look back fondly and see this day as a positive turning point that launched you toward fulfillment of your most treasured dreams? Today can eventually become a source of regret, or it can become a source of continuing value. The way it goes depends entirely on how you live the moments and hours that are yours right now in this day. Time is the raw material for success and achievement, and time is what you have this very day. I mean, even right now, the time you need to achieve the life of your dreams is coming to you even now, no matter what has come before or in what circumstances you find yourself. There is one thing you can always do. You can make the very most of whatever you have, of wherever you find yourself, of the time that is available for you to use. Do that today, even tomorrow, the next day, and the next, and you'll have very little to regret and much for which to be grateful. Take that from me, Coach Denny. That is my word. Are you ready?
You're live in the mix. Let's get this started.
All right. Again, welcome to the show. You're listening to VRL. That's Vigilantes Radio Live right here on iHeartRadio. And I am your host, Dini. Our interviews are designed to go beyond the music, news, books, art, acting, films, technology, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, and sometimes even past that thing that we call the ego. Our interviews are designed to go behind the scenes of these awesome human beings. You know, the ones who were out there giving it their all for me, for you, and for the world. What's up, family? I'd like to introduce a lifelong educator, mother, grandmother, and author who has dedicated her life to serving others and preserving the memory of 9/11. With a deep faith and a passion for teaching, Maureen has created resources that help young people understand history, empathy, and resilience. Through her books and her advocacy, she carries forward the legacy of her son, Christopher, a firefighter who bravely served on 9/11, on September the 11th. So let's welcome Maureen, an inspiring voice for remembrance and hope. So please join me in saying welcome, friend, to Maureen C. Santora. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you, Demetrius? I like your name. You must have Greek in your heritage. Uh, and I have listened to your words, and you are very very inspirational yourself. I'm very glad to be on the show tonight, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This is funny you mentioned Greek. So I'm in the middle of doing like this ancestry test to find just that missing pieces of my family. We have a great 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 grandfather was adopted, and the history kind of stops there. So I've been diving deep trying to find the roots. So thank you so
Well,
much. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Well, Demetrius is a very, very Greek name, and my father, my grandfather, was born in Greece. So when I saw the name, I said, "Oh, you must have some Greek heritage in your past somewhere." It's a good group to be aligned with. The Greeks are wonderful.
Absolutely. All right. Well, again, welcome to the show. You've dedicated your life to helping others understand and process the events of September the 11th, as well as other important life lessons. Could you share what's been on your heart and mind lately, especially as you continue your work in educating young people and honoring your son's memory?
Well, I think in today's world, we have a lot of anger. We have a lot of, hostility. We have a lot of, hope to harm others because of our hatred. And September 11th was a day of hatred, and it impacted everybody around the globe. My son was one of the firefighters. He was 23, and he was one of the firefighters, who, was murdered on that day. But there were, almost 3,000 other people, that were killed. And I think the terrorists believed that they were going to bring America down. And what happened on September 12th was America came together. And everybody became American, and everybody supported America. In spite of whatever political views they had, they became American. And my hope is, with this new election and, with this new hope, we will get back to that in a large degree, because we are filled with vitriol and horrible words and mean-spirited comments about individuals, and that needs to stop. When my son died, I was in very, very bad emotional way. I think when you lose a child, you never are the same, and I'm a different person than I was on, September 10th. I'll never go back to that me that I was. And so I got to choose how I was going to live the rest of my life. And so I'm a very big believer in God, and I knew that God was going to get me through this terrible event, and he has, and I miss Christopher every single day, but he's, given me a lot of strength, and I've had a lot of gifts, and I live each day as though it's my last day. And when you commented in your initial piece about, making the most of every day, that's something that everybody should do, and they should do it sincerely and not sweat the small stuff, as my son would often say, and get disturbed by little comments and little, angers and frustrations. And, when terrible things happen, you get to choose how you're going to react. And my choice was to do something that would, teach, because I was a teacher for a long time. And so I ended up writing 3 books. And the first 2 books were children's books for younger children, emergent readers, elementary school children who are just beginning to read. My son Christopher is one of the books. The Day the Towers Fell is the second. And then I wanted to have something to give older kids and to give college students and to adults. For me, the tragedy of September 11th was the people dying. That was the tragedy. It wasn't that the buildings collapsed. It was that lives had been wrecked and are still wrecked after 23 years. And so, I got to choose how I was going to not understand this event, because I still don't understand how anybody could have this much hatred in their heart for anybody. But I got to choose how I was going to react to the fact that my life had forever changed. And so that's what I did.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember history and events that happen. Bob's loss. I send my condolences to you and honor your son for being a brave firefighter on that day and throughout life. Definitely. What's one piece of advice you would give to young people today with history changing so much?
Well, I think we need to, extrapolate truth and not get caught up in opinions. And history is about truth, good or bad. And we certainly, in our history, we've had some bad things that occurred, and things that we cannot change. But we must teach that in an accurate, truthful way. And so, I would like young people to become more knowledgeable about historical events that occurred and are still occurring, but to remove all of the opinions that seem to be rampant, in our current society, and to try and find out what the truth is, and to be tolerant of other people's opinions. Because if you're not tolerant of other people's opinions, you never learn anything. It is the understanding of the other person's perspective that helps you to become a fuller, more informed, more intelligent human being. And so that would be my advice to young people, that they, stick to the truth, listen to the truth. And sometimes that's very hard, with everybody's different opinions and, slanderous comments. But that's something that they should really try, and certainly in the school system, they should honor that as, just an absolute in teaching. It should be truthful. And opinions are, everybody has opinions, and they should be respected. And, you can agree to disagree. And I've done that for many years. I don't agree with all my friends on a whole lot of issues, but we agree to disagree, and we learn from each other's perspective. So I think that's something that young people should, try to do in a more serious manner.
Absolutely. How would you describe your son, Christopher's spirit?
Well, Christopher was the only boy in a family of four, siblings. And, he grew up with sisters, and, he was definitely, very different than his sisters. But he was joyful, he was happy, he was very intelligent. He had a memory that, made it very easy for him to learn. He would read something once and he would remember it. And so, school was not terribly difficult for him. But he balanced his life between school and fun. And it was the balance that made him such a popular, energetic person. And he was, when he was little, we used to call him Jokey Smurf, because he was always, joking around or playing jokes or being the, a magician or, and he was a joyful child. He was joyful in a lot of ways. And he could be very serious when he was, interested in something. And he loved playing basketball, and he was not terribly tall, but he could outrun many of his friends, and he could steal, a ball and, pass it on to somebody who would get it into the basket. But he loved basketball. But he was a child that knew about balance. And, he would often say to me, "Don't sweat the small stuff, Ma. Don't get caught up, in the weeds. Lots of things might seem important, but they're not," because I was more of a worrier, than he was. But he was just a wonderful person. He was a spark in our family, and he was, as I say, highly intelligent, and he would bring up issues, at the dinner table, and we'd all have these heated discussions, and he'd sit back and smile, and, his sisters would say, well, why aren't you involved in the conversation? And he would say, well, I just want to hear your opinion, and then, of course, they would go after him every night, So when he died, we had silence at the table, and it was very difficult for all of us, because we missed the spark. And, he'll be with me in my heart forever. I know I'm going to see him, when I die, and I'm a person that believes God has a plan that I'm not aware of, and I just have to go with that plan. And sometimes it's very difficult, but he was just a wonderful, wonderful human being, and he was the kind of kid that, if he were playing in sports, he was very, very competitive. But if somebody got hurt, he was always the first one to go to make sure they were okay, because he never wanted to win on an unfair ground. And once he found out that, the boy, was okay, he'd get up and he'd be back to his very competitive self. But there was a kind of kindness that he always had, and a helpfulness that he always possessed. And he was a person who had many, many friends because he was joyful to be around.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. That was beautiful. What first inspired you to write The Day the Towers Fell?
Well, I wanted children to learn about the day, and I wanted to do it in a non-threatening way. We've seen on TV many, many times just the horrific pictures of the buildings being on fire and people jumping out of it. That's very difficult for young children to witness. And I know today they have all sorts of monster shows and, much more graphic than, 20 years ago. But I wanted young children to learn about the story of what happened on September 11th. My daughter, Patricia, did the illustrations on the day the towers fell. She was an art major in education in college, and so she did all the pictures. And I said to her, make them childlike so that children will not be afraid of seeing the pictures. And so I wanted children, and I wanted parents, and I wanted teachers to be able to talk about this day in a non-threatening way. And so that's the reason I wrote that book. And I wrote the My Son Christopher book so that children would learn that no matter what they did, their parents would love them unconditionally. That you get into trouble as a kid and your parents, might punish you or whatever, but that has nothing to do with their love for you. They will love you constantly. And I wanted, families to tell them, tell their children how much they love them every single day, because, we don't have a lock on how long we're going to live. And, when you said in your beginning, don't have any regrets, about not saying something or being, in the moment. Say what you need to say to make the person feel better and to make them feel loved. And so that was the message for, the two books. They came close together, but they were also for, both books are for young children, and for parents and for teachers, so.
Yeah. I'm sure there were some challenges in translating the profound grief of September 11 into a narrative that young readers could understand. So how did you find the right approach?
Well, it was, I get back to, telling the truth of what happened. And I have a question in the day the towers fell that says, how could anybody hate this much that they would want to harm this many people? And I said, we in our in the story, I say, it's you can't answer that question. You just can't answer it. But you can say that you as a person will be more tolerant, and you'll be more forgiving, and you'll be more loving. And you can do that. And so that's, part of the message of the book, that this is what you as a person can do. And you should never, never, never hate anybody to the point that you would want to harm them in any way. We get angry, all of us get angry, and we get upset at people, and, we say things, that we don't necessarily mean. But you should never be so angry that you really intentionally want to physically harm anybody. That is just a very bad thing, and it's a kind of evil, that must permeate your soul. So, I wanted kids to know, that you can have arguments and you can, be unhappy, but you should never be that angry. You should always be more forgiving in your life, and you'll have a very wonderful life if you do. So, that was one of my messages. There were several messages in the book, but I wanted it to be as truthful, and I talked about people just going to work and just going to support their families, and this terrible event happened that changed the lives of everybody, for forever. Our society is very different now. You can't go on a plane without being, scrutinized and taking off your shoes and going through a machine. When I was younger, I could travel on a plane without any of that. Our current population doesn't know that. Mm-hmm. People born on, after September 11th doesn't know that you don't have monitors and you don't have scrutinizing, situations in your high schools. Many in New York, especially, they have to have identification, and you didn't have that when I was a youngster. So this is something that changed our lives forever, So I just wanted kids, to be aware, and if we have love, if we have more tolerance, if we have more forgiveness, we have a much better world, and that's my hope. That's my hope.
Yes. And you have a right, more so than others, to address the weight, the heavy things. But hearing you speak, you have so much hope, so much kindness in your voice, and even your work revolves around resilience and faith. Why do these things mean so much to you as a person?
Well, I think, in your lifetime, I've had a very joyful life, and I've had some really horrible things occur, as everybody has horrible things occur in their life. We don't get to choose what horrible things occur, but there isn't a person on this earth that will not experience some terrible disaster, some terrible pain, some heartbreak in some way. And the only thing you can do as a person, if you have faith in God, is to know that God will take you through the journey and get you through. And that's what I have. I believe that with my heart. I'll share a quick story. My son was mistakenly buried in somebody else's grave, and I prayed to God that he would be recovered. And one of the things about September 11th is that there were no bodies. There were only a few bodies that were recovered in the very first couple of days, and then after that, there were only, parts of people, But anyway, Christopher was identified as somebody else, and he was the chauffeur on the fire truck that Christopher, rode on. And we went to the funeral, and everybody in the firehouse, all 15 families who lost somebody in the firehouse, expected to find more recoveries, and there were no recoveries at all. And I prayed. I said to God, I need to know that my son was there. I need the verification. I have to have this. And I prayed, and I refused to, plan a service or whatever. And finally, we decided to have a service December 1st. And 3 days before the service, the medical examiner came and said, we've made a terrible mistake. We buried your son in somebody else's grave. And, for me, that was my miracle. that I got him back, and I have a place to go. I have a place to go, and I have a place, to sit down and talk, and, I know he's up with God, but I have a place, and I know for sure he was there, and that made a big difference in my recovery. But you still have 1,100 people out of the almost 3,000 who have had no recovery. So, I pray for them every day and hope that, they've made peace, with this fact. So, wonderful things come out of the ashes, and if you look for them, you find them, and so I just am a very grateful person, and I feel very blessed that I've had so many wonderful things happen to me, and I feel joy and great gratitude every day. I thank God every day for another day and hope that I do something kind and good in my day, that he has given me.
Absolutely. And lastly, what legacy do you hope to leave through your books, your advocacy, and the Christopher A. Santora Educational Scholarship Fund?
Well, I'm hoping, we still give scholarships every year. We gave 3 this past year. We had a very, very big organization at the beginning, but I couldn't keep it up. It was just too overwhelming. So we gave 3 scholarships this past year, and I will continue to do that. We rely upon donations, and, and depending upon how much we get, we provide scholarships. My husband and I, contribute as well. But, my hope is that the story of 9/11 is not lost, and that changes in everybody's hearts will soften, and the anger that we have around the world, will be diminished in some way. It will never be eradicated, but if it's diminished in some way, we'll have a much better society and a much better world. And so my hope is that this story, the stories, of September 11th, and there are many, will help people to realize that you do survive. In spite of all horrific events, you do survive if you choose to survive. And so my legacy is that, he'll be remembered as a good and kind person who was valuable in this world.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Where can our listeners connect with you online and pick up copies of the book?
All right. Well, the book is, the 3 books. I have another book called The Stories of 9/11, We Remember, and it's written by parents and siblings. And they're all available on Amazon. And Barnes & Noble carry them as well. And I know that they are in many bookstores, around the country. But they're in libraries as well, and there are colleges that, have featured the books. But Barnes & Noble and Amazon carry the books. And I have a website, Maureen Books.com. And on that website is information about the scholarship, and there is information about the books and, my journey and about me and Christopher. And, people are welcome to go on and take a look. And it's my first and last name, Maureen Santora Books.com.
All right. Listeners, just in case you didn't get the links, I will have them in the episode notes and in the description of this episode. So all you guys have to do is just click those links. We want to say thank you to Maureen for sharing her journey, her resilience, and her faith with us today. I believe what you'll find through her writing and dedication is her profound insights into the events of September 11th, the importance of education, and the journey of grief. Your words are an inspiration to everyone who listens, especially those who may need a reminder to find strength in their own lives. So please join me, guys, in saying thank you to Maureen for this deeply meaningful conversation. And to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to both Maureen and Vigilantes Radio. Leave us a rating, share this episode with everyone, and especially with anyone who values remembrance, hope, and the importance of history. Until next time, let's continue honoring the past, educating the future, and finding peace in our journeys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio Live. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab it from either Spreaker.com/Only One Media Group, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, the app Podcast Addict, or over at our website, which again is onlyonemediagroup.com, and that goes for every single show that we've ever aired. If you like to request some music or send something for me to play, email it to vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. That is V as in Victor. And here's my disclaimer: we are genre free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, scratch all of that, because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, so deal with it. Just kidding. On behalf of myself, Denny, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word, because sharing is caring. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure that you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, at all social media sites, as well as Spreaker, YouTube. We always follow back. Okay, well, just remember to put yourself into everything that you do and never stop investing in yourself. Peace, love, grilled cheese, and talk with you later.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.